SuperHOT is another game from 2016 that I've decided to review. Unlike Killing Room, however, SuperHOT was made by a team named after the game and released to critical acclaim. So much critical acclaim, in fact, that it barely ever scored below a 9 out of 10. But was SuperHOT as great as everyone thought, or was it overrated? Graphically, SuperHOT is odd. It seems subpar, but is stylized in such a way where that seems like the intended outcome, due to the physics and shattering making the graphics seem much more justified in a way, as the shattering of realistic objects, example someone's skull, just wouldn't work. I really have no idea what to think of these graphics. If you like them, you like them. If you don't, you don't. Continuing on, as normal, we're going to talk about the story, which in SuperHOT is extremely minimal. You play as a nameless, faceless, no, I mean literally faceless, and personality-free character who happens to have a supposed friend send him a copy of the game. That game is conveniently called SuperHOT. This is starting to seem like a trend. After you download the game, you start playing in supposed virtual reality, no less than. You play through a bunch of levels with as much total story given as you'd expect from a 90s Doom game. Literally fucking none. And you occasionally talk to the same supposed friend a couple more times, and that's pretty much all the story the game has to offer in my experience. The gameplay of SuperHOT is, well, extremely unique to say the least. The game has one big gimmick: time only moves when you move. This gimmick is used to pretty great effect because you're more squishy than your enemies. A one-hit kill with any weapon, including their fists, whereas you have to punch them multiple times to kill them. As for weapons, you've got a pretty shallow arsenal. A pistol, a shotgun, a rifle, a katana, and an array 7 of things to throw at people. These meager few weapons are able to be used to a pretty great effect though, because every weapon besides the pistol serves a unique and valid late game use. In the early game, however, you will only see the pistol, and then the shotgun, then the katana, and then the rifle as they start appearing later on. Since there are so few weapons, I'm going to take the liberty of going into such a level of excruciating detail that you will be able to get a doctorate in SuperHOT gunology just off of watching this video. Starting with the pistol, it's a fairly simple semi-automatic pistol, similar to a Glock, but with a design somewhere between that of a Glock and a Colt M1911. The basic pistol has a maximum ammo capacity of 5 rounds, which is usually the amount you'll get when you pick up this weapon. When shooting, the pistol is relatively accurate, with little if any spread, even though like all weapons of SuperHOT, the rounds once fired move very, very slowly compared to realistic weapons, or even the unrealistically slow projectile weapons of other games. The shotgun, on the other hand, is a double-barreled shotgun, reminiscent of the Super Shotgun from Doom 2, except that it fires each chamber individually like any respectable double-barreled shotgun from any game that isn't a Doom game should be able to. The shotgun shells have a fairly wide spread, but, as with any other weapon, any hit on your enemies will kill them, making this thing the long-range equivalent of a grenade launcher with its effectively area of effect shells. The assault rifle is an odd mix of burst fire and fully automatic, firing a minimum 4-round burst, but you can hold it down to fire in full automatic. The rifle can hold a few bursts, and as a bit of random trivia, it first appears in the 13th level of the game, making this officially the most unlucky weapon in all of SuperHOT. The katana is the most unique out of SuperHOT's weapon lineup, being that it is the only proper melee weapon in the entire game. The katana is effective for an infinite amount of kills, and is also the only weapon in the game that isn't destroyed when thrown. All other weapons shatter, while the katana can penetrate through enemies and stick into or ricochet off of terrain, to then be picked up again by either the player or the enemies. The katana also has another unique function, being able to slice through bullets, making them effectively inert. Now that I've lost the interest of the entire audience, it's time to talk about the most interesting part of the game: hot switching. Hot switching is a mechanic that allows you to switch places with an enemy, killing off your current body and taking theirs over, all at the cost of losing any and all weapons both you and the enemy you're taking the place of currently have. There is, however, a way around this, which is throwing your weapon at an enemy and hot switching into them, then catching your weapon to use it again. However, this takes a lot of good timing, making it difficult, and there is a chance your weapon may get shattered on the way to that enemy should it be hit by anything. One thing I do need to mention about the gameplay, however, is the physics. The physics of SuperHOT are extremely important due to the fact that most of the game takes place in extremely slow motion, and that everything dies epically. When shot or slashed, enemies in SuperHOT shatter. When shot, the enemies lose a bunch of shards from wherever you shot them and fall over. However, if you shot them in their head explodes, which is absolutely beautiful. You also get the opportunity to throw an assortment of different items at your enemies, causing them to stumble in a beautiful visual shattering of whatever item you decided was worthy of being yeeted. As far as I can find, the campaign of SuperHOT is short. Very short, with an average playthrough being roughly 2.5 hours, unlike the 6 to 7 most Call of Duty games take the first time around. However, unlike a Call of Duty game, SuperHOT has a decent amount of replayability, allowing for 2 to 3 playthroughs to be completed before it starts to get stale, thanks to the unique gameplay loop and good game design. The campaign also has one fun trick up its sleeve. SuperHOT also has quite a few bonus game modes available, from an endless mode to a variety of different challenges using a mixture of game time and real time, which leads to some interesting differentiation in the tactics used to succeed in such challenges. These challenges include, but are not limited to, a hardcore mode, a single life mode where you have to attempt to beat the game without even dying once, and the best mode, full stop, which is literally the only mode that lives up to the motto of the game, because it fully stops time when you stop moving, which actually makes the game harder, ironically enough. Unfortunately, SuperHOT lacks any kind of multiplayer functionality whatsoever, severely reducing the amount of hours of play someone might get out of this game. Although I understand why a standard player versus player deathmatch wouldn't work in this game, I don't see why something like a competitive speedrunning mode, or hell, an in-game leaderboard for speedrunning the game, wouldn't work or even take that much programming to implement. The glitches. Oh, the glitches. SuperHOT is the glitchiest game I have ever played. Period. After a while in the game, I got kicked out, just outright crashed the title screen. I'm guessing the game managed to apex my piss-poor RAM setup of 8GB of DDR4, which has happened with other games occasionally, but I've never been title screened because of it. After a while, something else glitched out and caused what seemed to be a developer to contact me through the game to tell me to stop playing, which seems extremely weird considering I paid full price on Steam for this game. At the end, I also got a nasty smack in the back of the head that I supposedly perpetrated against myself, before it kicked me out one last time and stopped working altogether. Eventually, the next day, I managed to force the game to boot again, at which point it glitched out so much it was nigh unplayable. At one point, the graphics glitched out so much it looked worse than Doom 1993. The person I assumed to be a developer kept contacting me, this time treating me like an absolute tool. For the short time I got to play, I seemed to be in developer mode. Since Hot Switch, a mechanic I've only otherwise seen in the endless mode before my previous save went missing, was unlocked, I also got to play some levels I've never seen before, which eventually ended in another scene like before I got hit in the back of the head, except this time I nearly got shot, and I'm sitting here writing this, waiting for the police to show up, with an attempted murderer strung up on the chair behind me. Well, to conclude, I have to say I cannot recommend SuperHOT at its current Steam price of £18 British, or just shy of 23 United States dollars, due to its lack of more than 10 to 15 hours of solid content before it becomes a make-your-own fun experience by dicking around with an endless mode and challenges. This is compounded by the lack of unique levels or enemies. It's just the same handful of levels and standard red guys with the same 4 weapons and occasionally disarmed attempting to punch you. The arsenal is also extremely shallow and lacking the depth offered by even the blandest of shooters, with a meager 4 weapons to choose from, while which are viable and fun to use are extremely basic and lacking any unique properties or even proper textures half the time. However, although I can't recommend SuperHOT at its current Steam price, on sale for less than £10 British or about $13, it might be worth your money so long as you're interested in a fun gameplay loop more than graphics or story. You may also find this game bundled in with another SuperHOT game, specifically Mind Control Delete, on a Steam sale for about £15 British or about $20. A bundle like that is quite worth getting. For that price, it will offer quite a few hours of enjoyable gameplay. And yes, I will be reviewing Mind Control Delete separately at some point. Thank you for watching. I have been your host, Almost Murdered 343, signing off. Peace out, ladies and gentlemen.